Just over 5 years ago today, in March 2020, the pandemic was spreading rapidly across the United States. And Seattle, home to the first confirmed COVID cases, was rapidly becoming its epicenter. I was sitting at my desk in San Francisco on a conference call with over 20 people, including the mayor of Seattle, discussing how to help the city confront COVID as cases surged. I remember thinking to myself, how did I, a software engineer, end up here? And more importantly, what could I possibly do to be useful in this moment? So, before I tell you what happened, let me back up a bit and share my story. Hi, I'm Raylene, and I started my career in Silicon Valley and spent a decade scaling engineering and product teams at Facebook and Stripe. At Facebook, I joined as a new grad engineer and became an engineering director, where I led teams on products from newsfeed to privacy and a few more. And I watched as the company grew from 700 to over 10,000 employees. At Stripe, I helped build the product team and scale payments globally, and was there as the company grew from 200 to over 1,500 employees. For 10 years straight, I was in hyperscaling mode, supporting teams and products as they doubled and tripled in size. It was incredibly intense and a bit stressful, but it taught me how to scale systems, grow teams, and build quickly, even in complex regulatory environments. Then in 2020, the pandemic hit and everything changed. Governments faced enormous pressure, public infrastructure was failing, and I was quarantined in San Francisco, wondering what, if anything, I could do to help. I started reaching out to people in the policy world and friends in Silicon Valley. And together we contacted civil servants all across the country to offer our support. Together, we formed a new organization called US Digital Response, or USDR. And within days, I ended up on that conference call with the mayor of Seattle. I sat there listening to her team's challenges, and I realized that everything I learned in the tech industry was not only applicable to government, it was incredibly valuable. USDR went on to support Seattle's COVID response in countless ways, helping them distribute protective equipment, improve their public communications, and help over 750,000 people get access to free COVID tests. We went on to assist hundreds of government teams all over the country. Founding USDR then led me to a career in policy and government, including serving in the Biden-Harris administration. At the Department of Energy, I helped lead a $26 billion clean energy investment program. There I worked on clean hydrogen, industrial decarbonization, and advanced nuclear reactors. At the General Services Administration, I helped modernize government systems at massive scale. GSA is an agency that oversees hundreds of millions of square feet of federal real estate and billions in government contracts. So after years in startups, nonprofits, and government, I believe the tech industry has developed a unique and powerful playbook for solving big problems. And this same tech playbook, when used thoughtfully, can be applied to things that go far beyond apps and APIs, whether it's helping governments be more efficient or tackling climate change. So, if you've ever wondered how you too can take the skills you've learned in tech and use them to help improve your community, your local government, or even tackle giant world problems like climate, I'm here to tell you that you can. So today, I want to cover two things. First, the playbook and principles that I learned from tech that have stayed with me throughout my career. And second, some real stories of how these principles are used to tackle complex, messy problems outside of the tech world. So first, let's get into the principles. The first one is a really big one. It's really an entire worldview. It's how engineers, product people, and designers break down problems, identifying components, understanding feedback loops, looking for leverage points, and really understanding the effects of the whole, not just the parts. When you think this way, you're not just building for scale, you're building for change and resilience. At Facebook, I was part of a huge effort to rewrite the company's privacy infrastructure to make it easier to update and add new products while keeping people's content safe. This wasn't just about rewriting code. It meant rewriting and replacing entire layers of logic across every product surface. And what made this possible? Well, a deep understanding of how the system was wired together. Building clear components, monitoring, and testing enabled us to safely make changes without breaking anything else. And this mindset is incredibly powerful when the systems are invisible or bureaucratic or messy. In the United States, there are 50 states, several territories, over 3,000 counties, and over 19,000 cities. And each of them have their own rules, regulation, and elected leadership that are not really designed to be interoperable and don't really talk to each other because everyone is focused on serving their own constituents. Unlike commercial software, it can be really hard to build products that can scale to different states the way you might scale across companies. You need to think deeply not only about the underlying requirements, but also the relationships between them. Number 2, this may seem deceptively simple, and in tech, we really know how to optimize. But the real power comes from being intentional about what you're optimizing for. If you don't define the impact right from the beginning and very clearly, you might end up just moving pixels or writing code without purpose. Or worse, you risk driving hard towards some destination that you don't even want to get to. To quote the great Denzel Washington, don't confuse movement with progress. Let's say you're building a feature to drive engagement, or increase access, or save time for your operations team. This principle is especially important in government, where the temptation to optimize for internal metrics, like compliance or efficiency, is huge. But if the public doesn't benefit, what's the point? Impact should be the first design decision you make, not the last thing you measure. So on to the third principle. This is a little bit harder to describe, so I'm borrowing a word from writing and storytelling. In tech, you might think of these as core metrics or data models, but I think of them as through lines. These are the concepts or models that help you stay aligned throughout a growing system. If you define them clearly and propagate them reliably, they can become tools for consistency and coordination, not just observation. Let's say you have a core user model, a well-defined object in your system, and you've referenced and indexed it consistently. You know you can make changes anywhere and understand what the ripple effects will be. And to change the experience for just one specific type of user, you can now quickly identify when and how they're affected and focus your efforts accordingly. The same is true for consistent definitions of impact, risk, or even trust. The clearer your models, the easier it is to evolve and optimize your system around them. Number 4, and this is probably the biggest thing I miss when I'm not working in tech, but it's really the tools. The quality of tools and software is so high and constantly improving. At Stripe, developer tools were always at the heart of the company. And as the company launched new products beyond payments APIs, we were often inspired by the tools we used internally. Whether it's design systems and developer platforms, or call center scripts and accessible forms, good tools are the infrastructure behind every great product or service. And I don't think I need to tell this audience this one. So now, last but definitely not least, number 5. We all know that user-centered design is incredibly important. But I think we often forget just how deep that goes. Who is the actual user? It's not just the person tapping send on their phone. It's the grandchild helping their grandma fill out a paper form on their laptop. It's maybe the caseworker that's transcribing the information they just got over the phone into an online form. User-centered design also isn't just about empathy. It's about making things usable at every single layer. Good documentation, clear contracts, smart defaults, all of it matters. In government especially, it's important to identify who the system is really serving. Designing for the wrong user or the hypothetical ideal user just doesn't work. So, these are the 5 principles that I've kept coming back to throughout my career. It's hopefully clear how you might apply these in tech, but maybe less clear how they apply outside of tech. So I'll get into 2 examples now, one from government and one from climate. Back to 2020. COVID-19 pandemic is sweeping across the country. People all over are desperate for help. They're waiting in hours in lines to fill out paper forms in order to get unemployment insurance, and cars were parked on roads for miles waiting to get food from food banks. Every government system and public service was overwhelmed all at once in a completely unprecedented way. So let's take a look at one specific issue: evictions. In the fall of 2020, the Center for Disease Control issued an eviction moratorium to limit the spread of the virus. At the same time, Congress allocated over $40 billion through the American Rescue Plan to help keep people in their homes. Money flowed from the federal government to cities and states, but then each of these local governments had to create their own entirely new programs to actually get that money out to renters. All across the country, weeks were going by and no funds were making it out. The process was completely stuck. That's when an incredible lawyer working on local housing issues in Tennessee reached out to USDR. His request was simple but urgent. How can technology help us move faster? The USDR team partnered with the Memphis-Shelby County Emergency Rental Assistance Coalition to create a single front door, a centralized intake and workflow system for rental relief. The team focused on the impact they hoped to see, getting money out fast and to the right people. They studied and mapped the entire system of users, applications, and verification steps. They created workflows using lightweight, no-code tools, which made sure that the system could then be managed and updated by non-technical staff, enabling the government coalition to keep on using them even on their own. They thought about through lines. They looked at the different systems they had in place, the data they had available, and focused on the specific people they wanted to help the most. They even set up a data sharing agreement with the local court system, which enabled them to refer people directly from eviction courts to get the help they needed. This partnership was so successful, the US Treasury Department even featured it as a case study to help inspire other cities and counties. They considered the experience of everyone involved. They set up tables at courthouses and libraries to help people sign up who didn't have internet at home. And they made it easy for landlords to receive payments via email and e-signatures. So what happened? Memphis and Shelby County were among the first in the entire country to get money into the hands of real people. They helped thousands of people stay in their homes, and over $13 million was distributed before most cities in America had given out even a single dollar. Over the course of the pandemic, USDR teams applied these same principles to help governments bring systems back online, deliver millions of dollars, and perhaps most importantly, help governments build capacity to tackle this work on their own. And to date, USDR has supported over 500 partners across the country and helped improve services that have touched the lives of over half of Americans. And one of the most important parts of USDR's approach was not just applying these principles thoughtfully, but doing so by working side by side directly with civil servants who deeply understand the systems they work on and the people they serve. Oops. So, now moving on from pandemic response, let's talk about another great challenge: tackling climate change. According to the International Energy Agency's roadmap to net zero by 2050, achieving this goal requires a massive, coordinated global effort to invest in clean energy and decarbonize every sector, from transportation to construction to the homes we all live in. In the electricity sector alone, nearly 90% needs to come from renewable energy sources. Solar energy plays a pivotal role in this clean energy transition. Projections say that based on the rapid growth of solar, it's on track to become the largest renewable energy source by the end of this decade. And solar energy has huge transformative potential. It can help create jobs, lower energy costs, and improve public health. But communities most often in need often face the greatest barriers. One significant bottleneck to adopting solar is permitting, or the process of obtaining government approval to build energy systems. For residential solar, the permitting process is incredibly complex and slow. According to a 2022 study by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL, permitting issues can lead to the cancellation of up to a third of solar contracts and add 25% in costs, which means thousands of dollars and weeks or months of time. Requirements also vary all across jurisdictions, so installers can get confused or struggle to comply with the right requirements in every city. Projects are sometimes even fully installed, only to fail final inspections. So in 2019, NREL and the Department of Energy launched Solar App, the Solar Automated Permit Processing Platform, which is designed to streamline the permitting process. Solar App ensures compliance with safety standards while significantly reducing the time and cost associated with residential solar permitting. It was built by a team of experts in permitting and compliance, working alongside software developers, who together designed a scalable system to reconcile and standardize requirements across every jurisdiction, simplifying the entire process end to end. Technical, safety, and performance standards are consistently modeled and verified at every step of the process. After studying and understanding bottlenecks, they built tools to help jurisdictions onboard quickly. In some cases, jurisdictions were relying on paper and email to process their permits. In those cases, they can implement a new standalone application, use Stripe to collect payments, and Solar App to store online documents. In other cases, jurisdictions could use an API approach to integrate the new functionality into their existing permitting software systems. In all cases, tools and automation instantly verify permits, replacing weeks of waiting. To help jurisdictions move more quickly, Solar App also points them to tools and data called SolarTrace, built by NREL. SolarTrace creates through-lines, enabling users to monitor installation timing and volume across years and locations. Solar App was built with input from governments, the solar industry, and building code experts. But it also features tailored workflows, instructional videos, and tools that are designed specifically for solar installers and local government staff. And today, Solar App is transforming the residential solar industry. Since launch, it has served over 275 jurisdictions, helping get over 70,000 solar projects completed. It's reduced permitting timelines from weeks to under an hour, saving over 150,000 business days in delays. This has helped abate millions of metric tons of carbon dioxide and helped save almost $1 million in household electricity costs. And Solar App isn't stopping here. The platform moved from the lab to the market as an independent nonprofit. And earlier this year, I joined their board to help in this next chapter of growth. They aim to grow to 1,000 jurisdictions across the country for solar permitting. And thanks to its systems thinking and modular design, they're looking to expand to other clean energy technologies. So, to close us out, I'd love to come back to the central idea of this talk. Technology isn't always the solution, but the way we build technology can be. as an industry, we've developed incredible practices for building software at scale. And over the years, I've found that a handful of those principles show up again and again across every domain I've worked in. Taking a systems design approach, always staying focused on real impact, defining and carrying core models and through lines, using and building great tools, and staying user-driven all the way down. Great software is modular, resilient, and constantly improving alongside the tools and systems it depends on. Iterations, redesigns, and deprecations, they're all part of the process, and this approach has led to a renaissance in product development. I believe tech people can and should apply these skills beyond the tech world to tackle society's biggest challenges and create meaningful, positive impact in their communities. These aren't just tech things. They're great problem-solving tools. So, my goal for today was to challenge you to recognize the value in the toolkit you already have, help expand the problem set that you believe that you're capable of solving, and finally, inspire you to use your tech skills to go out and better the world in a new way. Not every opportunity will look like a tech or software problem, but so many hard, meaningful challenges, whether it's getting involved in government, working to improve your local community, or tackling climate change, can benefit from this mindset. Thank you.